The Immortals Gaming Club is an absolutely massive organisation within the esports realm. They own their own brand of Immortals, as well as MIBR and Optic Gaming, and they have teams in almost every large esport, but they seem doomed to fail in CSGO. Immortals first started in Counter-Strike as Immortals, when they purchased the young Tempo Storm roster. This was a roster with Henny and Lucas One, or Henum and Lucas as I think you're supposed to pronounce it, as well as Phelps, who was probably the best player on the team. They were actually a pretty solid team, winning a lot of tier 2 lands, DreamHack Opens, that sort of thing. But, you know, when you're the second best team in a region and you're doing well, you're going to lose a player. So they lost a player to SK Gaming. They lost Phelps, they got FNX in return, and it didn't go that well. It did in terms of winning events, but it didn't go very well in terms of, you know, team chemistry, internal issues, alleged internal issues. So eventually they dropped him. Instead, they signed this guy called KNG. And KNG was a great player. Well, a very good player. The problem was, DreamHack Open Montreal happened, where they were supposed to be favourites to win. They made the final quite comfortably, and they showed up so late to the first map, they had to default it, and then they lost one more map, and that was it. Tweets came out about the Immortals guys partying the night before, and KNG took to Twitter to defend himself when FNS made a comment about it, and he didn't exactly respond with great subtlety and restraint. He then also allegedly went around trying to find him to beat him up. So he got dropped from the team. The two brothers, Henum and Lucasu, also left the team because they weren't happy with that. I didn't quite fully understand their reasoning. But yeah, this tore the Immortals organization to shreds, as now they had left 2 players, no major spot, and basically all the talent in Brazil was either at that point on SK or Luminosity, whoever they were at the time, or had just left them. Eventually, they basically closed up operations in CSGO. Rumours started circling not long afterwards about Immortals looking to purchase the MIBR brand. Now, for those people who don't know who MIBR are, they were the biggest name in Brazilian Counter-Strike in 1.6. They won a few notable lands, and they had players like Bit and Kogu, who are still to this day legends of that scene. When they did reveal the roster, it was no surprise to anyone. They had purchased the SK and Luminosity Gaming, previously Luminosity Gaming, roster, that included Fallen, Fur, Cold Zero, you know, legends of the game, plus Bolts, who was an OG, the Brazilian scene, and Stewie 2K, recently a major champion. The problem is, this team kind of sucked. No, they weren't bad, but relative to what you expect for the price they paid and the names they'd signed, they underperformed. This went on for years. They brought in a number of players, they even brought in KNG towards the end, but it never fixed it. They never got good enough again. More recently, there's been the coaching scandal. Their coach was one of the first coaches implicated in the scandal. They lost all their RMR points, the qualifying system for the Rio Major, their home major, the one they really wanted to qualify for. They then decided, you know, it's time to make some changes because they lost the coach. Their team went downhill in terms of performances, losing to Galaxy Racer, Pact, Copenhagen Flames, twice in best of 3s, Gambit Youngsters. These are teams they should have no problem smashing. So they decided it was time to drop some players, and they got rid of, well, they benched Fur and Taco. Turns out, Fallen and KNG have decided they're going to be ride or die. Just, well, Fallen especially, ironically, decided this was the time to be ride or die. Fallen benched himself. KNG tweeted about it, to be fair. This was a somewhat professional tweet. He didn't threaten violence towards anyone or call anyone a homosexual, with negative connotations attached to it, obviously. So yeah, they're now stuck with 2 players on a brand that has been on the decline for the past 2 years, and nowhere to go. Because what next? What can they do next? They could retain the MIBR brand and sign Furia. Based off what we know of the contracts, when they signed them, they were 5 years in length, I think, which is absurd, but it also means there's a very high buyout associated with them. So you're probably not going to be able to get them. You could more realistically sign a up-and-coming team, a team with successful results right now, like Heroic. Problem is, you have to ditch the MIBR thing, so it's a lot of money down the toilet. It makes you wonder, should Immortals just leave Counter-Strike? It's going to cost them a lot of money either way to remain in it, and they have no guarantees of long-term success. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if they just left. Feel free to share your comments, your thoughts. Where do you think they're going to go in the future? Is this the end for the Immortals Gaming Club in Counter-Strike? Feel free to let me know.